All right, so greetings, everybody. May peace and power and elevation be to all you beautiful people out there in the world. This your girl Tiffany French coming through here live in effect. Live in effect. So today we're dealing with black music, right? So June is the Black Music Month, okay? So where you honor all artists from various form of genres, all right? So there's a lot of black genres out there. It goes beyond hip hop. It goes beyond R&B. It goes beyond jazz and blues. It's a lot of genres. Okay. And why? Because we are a musical people. We express ourselves through music. We express ourselves through chanting. We express ourselves through dancing, call and response. All right. That's what makes us so unique, and that's why you hear so much genre because that's how our people operate. Especially if you talk about Central West Africa, a lot of them use drums, percussion. A lot of them use chant to call, to celebrate, or when it was wartime. All right. So today we're gonna talk about soul music, the origin of what we call soul music. Okay. So we heard that James Brown is the godfather of soul. Aretha Franklin was considered as queen of soul. All right. But let's go into the origins of how what we know as soul came into existence. All right, so here, soul music, simply referred to as soul, is a popular music genre that originated in African American community throughout the United States in the 1950s and early 1960s. It combines elements of African American gospel music, rhythm and blues, and jazz. Soul music became popular for dancing and listening in the United States, where record labels such as Motown, Atlantic, and Stax were influential during the civil rights movement. Soul also became popular around the world, directly influencing rock music and the music of Africa. All right. So down here it says the cultural origins, early 1950s, early 1960s. All right, according to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, soul is music that arose out of the black experience in America through the transmutation of gospel and rhythm and blues into a form of funky secular testify. Catchy rhythm stressed by hand claps and extemporaneous body moves are an important feature of soul music. Other characteristics are a call and response between the lead vocalist and the chorus, and especially tense vocal sound. The style also occasionally used improvisationals, additions, twirls, and auxiliary sounds. Soul music reflects the African American identity and it stressed the importance of African American culture. The newfound African American consciousness led to the new style of music, which boasted pride in being black. So people like James Brown, Sly Stone and the family. Sly Stone and the family was very big in the 70s, right? With their soul music. They did a song called Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself, and then there was a song called I'm Everyday People. Now it didn't start with Arrested Development. Arrested Development sampled that song from them. Actually, Sly Stone and the family was the one that did the song called I'm Everyday People, and the group called Chick. The song called Celebrate Good Times. Come on. All right. So yeah, those people play an integral part in to the African American culture with a form of liberation, being able to give people something proud to give people something to be proud about. There's a documentary out by Questlove called The Soul Experience, where it shows different concerts, different artists that had performances at festivals, concerts, etc. It had Nina Simone, The Parliament, James Brown, Gladys Knight, and um, Rufus Thomas, the guy that sang "Do the Funky Chicken." Yeah, so all these various artists was on the documentary. Okay, all right. Some of them are still around, and some of them passed away. So I didn't really get a chance to look at it, but I seen like previews of it, whatnot. But yeah, it's called Soul Experience Summer Fest. That's the name of it by Questlove. All right. Peace to Brother Chauncey. How you doing, Brother Chauncey? Peace to you. So let's go ahead and continue. Soul music dominated in the U.S. R&B chart in the 1960s, and many recordings crossed over into pop charts in the U.S., Britain, and elsewhere. By 1968, the soul music genre had begun to splendor. Some soul artists developed funk music, while other singers and groups developed slicker, more sophisticated, and in some cases more politically conscious varieties. By the early 1970s, soul music had been influenced by psychedelic and progressive rock, among other genres, leading to psychedelic and progressive soul. The United States saw the development of neo soul around 1994. There are also several other subgenres and offshoots of soul music. All right, so the keys subgenres of soul include the Motown style, a more pop-friendly and rhythmic style, deep soul and southern soul, driving energetic soul styles, combining R&B with southern gospel music sound. Memphis soul, a smattering sultry style, New Orleans soul, which came out of the rhythm and blues style, Chicago soul, a lighter gospel influence sound, Philadelphia soul, a lush orchestral sound with the doo-wop inspired vocals, as well as psychedelic soul, a blend of psychedelic rock and soul music. Okay. So now skip down to here. It says the term soul had been used among African Americans musicians to emphasize the feeling of being African American in the United States. According to musicologist Barry Hansen, though this hybrid produced a clutch of hits in the R&B market in the early 1950s, only the most adventurous white fans felt its impact at the time. The rest had to wait for the coming of soul music in the 1960s to feel the rush of rock and roll sung gospel style. All right, that's a picture of James Brown right there. And that's Sam Cooke. So going down here, gospel groups in the 1940s and 50s occasionally used the term as part of their names. The jazz style that originated from gospel became known as soul jazz. As singers and arrangers began using techniques from both gospel and soul jazz in African American popular music during the 1960s, soul music gradually functioned as an umbrella term for African American popular music at the time. All right, so, and it goes down to say important innovators whose recording in 1950 contributed to the emergence of soul music included Clyde McPhatter, Hank Ballard, Etta James. Ray Charles is often cited as popularizing the soul music genre in his series of hits starting 1954's I Got a Woman. Singer Bobby Womack said Ray was the genius. He turned the world onto soul music. Charles was opening and acknowledging the influence of Pilgrim Travelers vocalist Jesse Whittaker on his singing style. And then Little Richard. Now, here's an interesting part about Little Richard. Little Richard was considered as the architect of rock and roll music because the way he used to play the piano. He played the piano in a certain style. But he has influenced so many people. He influenced Otis Redding and James Brown, who all came up out of the area of Macon, Georgia, right? But yeah, that they embody the concept of Little Richard style into the jazz oriented component and gave it a soul flavor. So when you listen to James Brown music, you will hear Little Richard's influence in his music because that's who he looked up to, that's who he respected and he admired, Little Richard. And same with Otis Redding, you would hear Little Richard's style in his music as well. So I said Little Richard, who inspired Otis Redding and James Brown, both were equally influential. Brown was nicknamed the godfather of soul music, and Richard proclaimed himself as the king of rockin' and rollin', rhythm and blues songing because his music embodied elements of all three, and since he inspired artists in all three genres. Okay. So down here, it goes into Sam Cooke and Jackie Wilson, also often acknowledged as soul forefathers. Cooke became popular as the lead singer of the gospel group the Soul Stirlers before controversially moving into secular music. His recording of You Sent Me in 1957 launched a successful pop music career. Furthermore, his 1962 recording of Bring It On Home to Me has been described as perhaps the first record to define the soul experience. Jackie Wilson, a contemporary of both Cooke and James Brown, also achieved crossover success, especially in his 1957 hit Reed Petty. He even was particularly influential for his dramatic deliveries and performances. Okay, so that's Aretha Franklin, the late Aretha Franklin. Okay, now go down to here. The most important female soul singer to emerge was Aretha Franklin, originally a gospel singer who began to make secular recordings in 1960, but whose career was later revitalized by her recording for Atlantic. Her 1967 recordings, such as I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You, Respect, written and originally recorded by Otis Redding, and Do Right Woman, Do Right Man, written by Chips Moman and Dan Penn, were significant and commercially successful production. So soul music dominated the U.S. African American music charts. 1960, many recordings crossed over into pop charts in the U.S. Right? So talk about Otis Redding was a huge success at Monterey Pop Festival in 1967. The genre also became highly popular in the UK, where many leading acts toured in the late 1960s. So it became an umbrella term, etc. So that's pretty redundant to read. All right, so it talks about the Temptation, Marvin Gaye, and Stevie Wonder to Deep Soul, performing as Percy Sledge and James Carr. Different regions of the city within the U.S., including New York City, Detroit, Chicago, Memphis, New Orleans, Philadelphia, and Muscle Shoals, Alabama, home of Fame Studio and Muscle Shoals Sound Studios, became noted for different subgenre of the music and recording styles. All right. Now that's just a little bit of it. Down here you can see the different subgenre. You can see Detroit, deep and southern, Memphis, New Orleans, Chicago, Philadelphia. Okay, and then you got my man's over here, Isaac Hayes. All right, and so soul music is very popular in London. It's very popular in Great Britain. So you will hear a lot of white artists, in particularly, making a lot of soul music, like Adele, Simply Red, and the late Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse was a soul singer. I mean, she had an incredible voice, but she was an alcoholic too. She was drunk as hell. Every time she get on stage, you could tell she was drunk the way she was moving around. But she could put on a good ass performance though. She did. So it influenced a lot in Great Britain. I mean, a lot of the British people was into soul music. They were influenced by the black artists here in America. Okay. And if you want to find out more, you can go here on Wikipedia, of course. You can find out some information. All right. So now I have an interesting article that talk about soul music in Africa that gets into that origin. All right, so Soul Music in Africa by J.K. Abatala. And it was published online on April 14th of 2015, right? But the article was actually originally written in 1971. Now it says Soul Music in Africa has Charlie got a brand new bag. So let's read the first part. So in November of 1969, the Tanzanian government announced that it had outlawed soul music in Tanzania and would take immediate action against soul nightclubs that continued to ignore the decree. At first, Nalare's action appeared to me to be a deliberate slap in the face to the Afro-American, alas, an indication that Tanzania was relapsing into a self-indulged coma of ultra-reactionary nationalism similar to which has characterized Ghana since the overthrow of the Nkrumah regime. This explanation, however, proved insufficient, for there was still to be considered the somewhat incongruous fact that while K.A. Bussa had issued a ruthlessly executed and alien quit order uprooting thousands of Africans, some of whom were second generation Ghanaians, from their home, not even he had tampered with the soul joints which are becoming increasingly popular in Ghana's urban centers, nor has the Bussa regime inferred with the record distributor who are doing a booming business in Afro-American music. What then could have led Julius Nyerere to take such a radical step as the abolition of Black American music? The answer was not far to be sought. Now let me skip down. All right, so it talks about Nipsey Russell. Indeed, the Nipsey Russell show was nothing less than a visualized myth, namely the myth of Afro-American influence, which is widespread in Africa and which carries with it some serious implication for the future of Africa itself, as well as for relations between Africans and Afro-Americans. Moreover, the myth need not even be visualized because it is inherent in his interpretation of another equally destructive myth, that of soul, which is manifest in Afro-American music itself, whether recorded live or experienced visually through the medium of television. All right. Then goes on to say the myth of Afro-American influence is based largely on the policy of overgeneralization. Afros, as we are called, live in America, which is a rich country. Therefore, all Afros must be rich. Otherwise, goes the myth, how could they live such an out a sight life with their bushy hairstyles, way out fashion, swinging music, and wild dances? Due to propagation of the myth of Afro-American influence, Black property oppression and exploitation in the United States is inconceivable to the average African. To him, soul symbolizes affluence, not oppression. He does not understand the escapist and reactionary nature of the soul myth because he cannot accept the fact that there is anything to escape from in America. Moreover, most English-speaking African, not to mention illiterates, and those who speak other European languages cannot understand Afro-American dialect when spoken rapidly. The content and meaning of the music thus escapes them. For the African, then, soul is the affirmation of the good life in America, not a cultural reflection of the long years of suffering inflicted upon his fellow African brothers in a strange and distant land. Indeed, the mere mention of the word conjures In his mind, 1,000 images of luxury and wealth, not the least of which is James Brown sliding over super slick floors, flinging off one diamond stud cake after another. All right, so at once upon a time, soul music was banned in Africa in Tanzania because they thought that it was going to bring about uprise and bring about chaos. Okay, so at that time, Africans that was into soul music, they didn't really understand what was going on in America because they were seeing that okay, if you came from a country like America that is rich, there should not be a serious form of oppression. It should not be as bad because the way they understand poverty, their poverty in some of those countries in Africa is much different from our poverty here in America. Okay, their poverty is very extreme. So when they come over here, they don't see that the poverty over here in America as bad. Now there are some who have wake up call and see that oh, there's a issue with the cost of living over here, but the rest of them they don't really see that. They see like oh, it's a form of prosperity and opportunity, and they don't get the bigger picture because they caught up into the illusion. All right, so I'm back. All right, so that's one article piece, and that article is called "Soul Music in Africa." But it's funny if you want to get, if you want to be honest, when we call black music, it has its origin within Africa. So it's nothing more than African sound that's mixed in to the Western culture. That's all it is. So it's like basically you took soul music back to the motherland and reintroduced it to them. That's all it was. Okay. That's it. You reintroduced the sound to them. But the African influences is already there in the black music genre. Because otherwise it would not be black music without African sound and customs, right? Let's just think about that for a moment. Think about it. Even with hip hop music, it would not be what it is without African sound and custom in it. Now, this next article is about soul music, its psychological and political significance in American popular culture by Portia K. Mosby. All right, so going down to where it says soul in the Black Power movement. The foundation for Black Power movement was established by the Civil Rights Movement, which was an outgrowth of the Montgomery, Alabama bus boycott of 1955 and 1956. This boycott later proved to be a first of a series of organized efforts on the part of Blacks to protest the second class citizenship that defined their status, discontented and frustrated with social, economic, and political discrimination. Black Americans began to organize nonviolent courses of action to challenge these injustices. Leaders of the civil rights movement adopted the integration philosophy, a philosophy they viewed to be the most effective strategy of achieving first class citizenship. Integration was equated with emancipation, and emancipation with the full access to those rights and privilege granted to the larger society. Then it goes on to say, beginning in the 1960s, activity of the civil rights movement drew national attention. Bombing, killings, and the brutal treatment of black constituted the response of white Americans. Such violent reaction, coupled with poor enforcement of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the assassination of Malcolm X in 1965, provided the fuel for a major black revolution in America. Around 1965, blacks residing in large urban centers throughout the United States began to reject the nonviolent approach of the civil rights movement and retaliate to violence attacks by arming themselves in immediate entry into society on their own terms. This change in philosophy and strategy gave way to emergence of the Black Power movement. Leaders of this movement encouraged the rejection of standards, values, beliefs, and goals of the white society while they advocated the self-awareness or self-pride concept. The objective of the Black Power movement, as explained by Stokely Carmichael, was to gain full people. All right, so let me continue. In view of this goal, Black Americans sought to enter into the mainstream of American life as a unified group. Conditions for entry were to be guided by policies established and controlled by Black people. A philosophy inherent in the Black Power movement promoted the concept of inclusion. In discussing this concept, sociologist Talcott Harrison insists that full inclusion and multiple role and participation are compatible with the maintenance of distinctive ethnic or religious identity. Although most Black people would agree with Carson, white Americans generally, in theory and practice, are unwilling upon this interpretation of inclusion. The full implication or implementation of the inclusion concept, however, can only occur when white Americans first recognize and accept cultural standards and value established and inherent by Blacks. Then Black Americans must have the power to exercise control and to define their own needs, priorities, goals, and courses of action. The concept of inclusion therefore necessitates social freedom and the redistribution of economic and political power. The Black Power movement was organized to promote these objectives. So music played a part to bring about the attention and bring the influence. Okay, so it was to make the political statement. All right. Let's go down to the concept where they talk about the concept of soul. All right. So it says urban Black popular music traditionally have been subjected to exclusion from society at large. Representative of record companies, the music industry, and the mass media encourage its exclusion by creating labels to identify Black performers who they believe will appeal only to Black communities. In addition, these representatives played a major role in selecting the listening audience and potential consumer of Black music. Billboard magazine, for example, coined the phrase Harlem Hit Parade in the early 1940s to identify recording made by Blacks of urban Black popular music. In the mid 1940s, this phrase was changed to race records, then to rhythm and blues in 1949, and later to soul in 1969. Since 1940, music recorded by Black artists who modified their style to conform to musical standards and tastes of the larger society has been classified as pop. This music, therefore, was included in Billboard's listing of songs that were recorded by white pop performers, and distribute in white communities. It could be argued that these labels contribute to the identification of music style, but the contemporary or contrary available evidence revealed that recordings made by white performers, when presented in a black or black oriented style, became instant hits under the label of pop. The Crew Cuts, Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, Janis Joplin, Joe Crocker, the Bee Gees, and Linda Ros- Rostad or Rosastad represent a few of many such artists. Even when black artists modify their style to appeal to the white market, white performers who recorded the music of blacks and in the same style became benefactors of the hit in the pop market. All right, so speaking of Elvis Presley, for example, that song "You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog," that song was originally recorded by Big Mama Thornton. But see, Big Mama Thornton did not receive credit for that song. It was Elvis Presley. And then also, if you guys ever looked at the movie with Little Richard, there was a part in the movie where Little Richard found out that one of his songs was recorded by a white boy group. And he said, "That's my song. That's my song that they're recording." But at the end, those groups, those white guys, they was getting credit for the song. But that was originally his song. See, they was able to do that back then, take songs from black artists and give them to white artists. And when white artists record those records, they was getting credit for the hits. They did a lot of that. Oh, it's a dirty game. It's a very dirty politics. Back in the day, it was very dirty. The industry was so dirty towards black people. And that's why a lot of black people back then did not even make a lot of money like they do today. Because a lot of their hit songs was given over to people who were non-black and not in their community. They was receiving credits. Or the white record label owners, right? They were making most of the money. Or even those blacks who were particularly house Negroes, they were making most of the money and not really paying the artists as much. So a lot of those artists had a hard time making a come up. They had a hard time making a come up. It will probably take them another 3 or 4 hits before they actually see their wealth. I mean, if you look at the Diana Ross and Supremes, right? They came about the project of Detroit, Michigan. So they had all them hit songs, but they were still in the projects. So it would take them a while before they could actually start seeing money coming in. And the person that was making the most money out of all of them was Diana Ross, because she was the lead singer. And Florence Billard, who was the founder of the Supremes, actually she put the group together. She the one that reached out to Diana, because her and Diana grew up in the same neighborhood. And Mary Wilson, she reached out to them and they combined, they formed the group. I think it was 2 other people or one more other member in the group, but that person ended up leaving or whatever, so it was just a trio. But it was Florence Billard that actually formed the group, and she was the one that actually came up with the name Supreme. But she did not receive credit for that. She didn't get a lot of leads. She didn't get a lot of rights to her own group. She didn't get no rights to the group, and she wasn't getting paid. She was not getting paid for it. And that's the messed up part about it. So even if you have somebody who founded the group, who come up and put the group together, they're not going to get most of that profit. They're not even going to be able to own the rights to the group, or don't even own the rights to the name. See, so the part is the music aspect of it is beautiful, but the business of the industry sucks. It sucks on a whole nother level. And it's like I feel sorry for anybody that really goes into the music industry, because they don't really know what they're getting themselves into. They don't know what they're going to encounter until they go there, especially if you starstruck. You got your favorite person that you idolize and you look up to, then you start to find out who they really are, and you start seeing their true color. Then you don't really idolize them anymore. All right. So So let's read down here. This is very interesting. Prior to the evolution of soul music, black performers of urban popular styles of black music had either been excluded from or assimilated into the American pop musical tradition. The music industry, mass media, and the black music played by black musicians black definitions. Many adults regarded the commercial dissemination of black music to be part of an NAACP plot to corrupt the nations and particularly Southern youth. The citizens of Greater New Orleans incorporated a secular protest area of music recorded by blacks. It says, "Stop, help save the youth of America. Don't buy Negro music." Excuse me. Stop, help save the youth of America. Don't buy Negro records. If you don't want to serve Negroes in your place of business, then do not have Negro records on your jukebox or listen to Negro records on the radio. The screaming, idiotic words and savage music of these records are undermining the morals of our white youth in America. Call the advertiser of the radio station that play this type of music and complain to them. Don't let your children buy or listen to these Negro records. Yep, that's how it was. Because there was parents who did not approve of their white kids listening to black artists on the radio. I said, no, we don't want our kids to be corrupted and influenced by these niggas. Stop playing nigga music. Play our music. Let them find their own shit. Don't play their music on our radio station. That's how the white parents felt at that time. Again, it was a dirty business back then. It was much dirtier back then than it is today. Now, today is a little different because a lot of artists have a little bit more endorsement deals. They able to do more commercial advertisement. They get a lot of sponsorships now, etc. But back then, a lot of black artists didn't receive sponsorships. They didn't do a lot of commercial advertisement, especially how the corporation was back then. They didn't really want to advertise black faces, even on album covers. They didn't really advertise black faces. So if you look at the album covers from the 60s and the 50s and the 40s, you will see that it wasn't too many black faces on there. Why? Because the way the industry operated, they didn't want to advertise black faces because they thought that it would not appeal to the mass media. So in order to appeal to the mass, right, to the mainstream, you would have to put somebody that's non-black on there or put like some type of object that symbolized something. You didn't put a black artist on it. And you didn't start seeing that. You didn't start seeing more black artist images until probably around the late 60s, early 70s. But prior to that, nah, they weren't going to market black faces on album covers or in commercials like that. Nope, they didn't. So in addition to this form of rejection, neither the mass media nor the music industry consider giving credit or sharing profits made from the creative efforts of black musicians. All right. Again, this article is called Soul Music, Its Psychological and Political Significance in American Popular Culture by Portia K. Malsby. So if you guys want to check out this article, you can just type it in and look it up. Now, I have books that you guys can look into. Just two of them. It says Party Music. The inside story of Black Panthers band and how Black power transformed soul music. So this book was written by Ricky Vincent, author of Funk. It was copyrighted in 2013. Peace to Lions and Pure Black. How you guys doing? All right, so let's go to the introduction. Revolution in the air. Every song tells a story. The songs in this book tells the story of a revolution, of multiple revolutions taking place at once. Within the black music tradition, one finds that all things flow along multiple rhythms. The rhythms of change were everywhere in the United States at the end of the 1960s. In global war and conflict, in the arena of social justice, at the personal level of identity and popular culture, everything it appears for a moment was undergoing a radical transformation. The revolution discussed here is what was called the Black Revolution. The Black Revolution involved radical confrontational ideas of dramatic change. Yet the topic was well established in the mainstream of American discourse at the time, and nearly every American had an opinion about it. The Black Revolution encompassed dreams of overturning the social order, of confronting white racists, and destroying the racial caste system in America. It says of destroying the capitalist dominion over Western economics, of purging the culture and history of Eurocentric distortion and replacing them with ones that would be vibrant and empowering to all, and of transforming Black life from one of perpetual crisis into one of Black and African inspired celebration. On a structural economic level, the revolution did not materialize on a cultural level. The repercussions were long lasting and indelible. On the level of identity formation, on the accessional transformation from the Hasidic term Negro to the prideful Black, the revolution was triumph. Even even the term Black as a perhaps an example of the radical changes that took place for this period. Franklin and James Brown to the bold sonic assault on the status quo by the likes of Jimi Hendrix, the evidence was clear that a radical moment was upon us. All right. Then it goes on to say the radical moment was fueled by the ideas of Black power. Black power was more than a political movement driven by nationalism and enmity towards white. It was a resistant culture, a means of reclaiming one's identity through the events and actions of one's daily life during this time of radical change. The music and other cultural production of the times played a significant role in this process. People heard the speeches and went to rallies, but they also danced to music danced to music and felt the fire of revolution flow through their bodies in motion. The cultural politics of Black power were crucial to times. All right, so it spoke a little bit about Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture. It said he was one of the most prolific Black radicals of the 1960s in his early years, leading the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and later as a key component of Black Power. Carmichael was one of the most prominent and effective organizers in the civil rights Black Power era. He was frequently ally and foil to Dr. King, Martin Luther King Jr., and was undisputed leader of the movement. While he was seen as a political activist, he was influenced by the music, by the culture of the people, just like everyone else. In his memoir, Ready for Revolution, he discussed the impact of Black popular music on his movement. I really dug into the popular music aspect, soul, rhythm, and blues, even funk a little, of this uprising of political and cultural consciousness. And not just because it reached millions of our people. We are an African people. So it was natural that from the beginning, from the spirituals right on up, music would be our weapon and our solace. Carmichael recognized Black music as a weapon that it is, and expressed an understanding of its evolution as a parallel to many social movements which he was well acquainted. For those of his generation, knowledge and pride in the history of Black music went hand in hand with knowledge and pride in history of the Black struggle. Carmichael further explained, indeed, Certain jazz musicians had always incorporated high social and cultural consciousness into their work. And in the early 60s, artists like Sister Odetta, Oscar Brown Jr., Max Roach, Abby Lincoln with their We Insist, Max Roach's Freedom Now Suit, or Nina Simone, Mississippi Goddamn, and Young, Black, and Gifted had reflected the Southern struggle. But now something slightly different. Political consciousness moving to the popular arena. Soul, rhythm, and blues, stuff that had been purely commercial, dance music, entertainment. I think Brother Sam Cooke, peace be unto him, might have got in first with a change is gonna come. After that, we talking about people like Marvin Gaye. What's going on? Brother Curtis Mayfield, we're a winner. Keep on pushing. People get ready. Sister Aretha Franklin's respect, and of course the king of soul, Brother James Brown said loud, I'm black and I'm proud. This music reached people we couldn't otherwise reach. How effectively I can't say, but from it, one sense and excrement moved in the community. Yep, it says Carmichael was aware of the relationship between the revolution and the social structure he was fighting for every day as an activist and the revolutionary changes taking place in the daily lives of the people he had chosen to serve. Carmichael reveals himself as a soul brother, someone likely as adept on the dance floor as on the rally stage. Indeed, it was Carmichael's soulfulness, his personal style, and ability to flow and improvise within his community that made him a great movement leader. So that is the introduction of this book. And again, it was always, music has always been a tool of our people to bring liberation, from Negro spirituals to rain shout to jazz music to blues and soul music and now hip hop music. It was always a no matter what genre these artists sung, they use their political expression to express themselves and get the message out to the people. And that helped to bring about liberation in each of these political movements of the 1960s and 70s, and even in the 90s, early 2000s. All right, and then I'm gonna show another book. Pure Black says Mississippi goddamn slap. I love Nina Simone music. Nina Simone was a very radical woman. She was so vocal about a lot of things. She made her music become more revolutionary, especially when she talked about poor black girls. That was revolutionary. One of my personal favorites. This book here is called Soul Music, Tracking the Spiritual Roots of Pop from Plato to Motown. Joe Windenau, or Rudenau. Yeah, Joe Rudenau. The book came out in, I think at first it was printed in 2010, so it may have been updated all the way up to 2013. My name is Peaches. Oh, your name is Peaches, huh? Okay. All this time I thought you was a male. My bad, Peaches. I thought you was a male all this time because it says pure black. I thought you was a male. I didn't know you was a female. Or Let's look on the introduction. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, my bad. Nina Simone lyrics. Oh, my bad, my bad, my bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Pure Black. You had me confused for a moment. You had me confused. You had me confused for a moment. I thought you were saying your name was Peaches. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I didn't know you was a female. I thought you was a male all this time. I didn't know that you was typing in the lyrics from Nina Simone. So my bad. My bad, Pure Black. I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize. You threw me off with that one. You threw me for a loop with that one. Sorry about that. All right, so here's the introduction, etc. So I'm gonna skip the intro and go into chapter one. So down here where it says defining soul music. I'm sorry, Pure Black. I thought you was a female when you said Peaches. I thought that, oh, I didn't know your name was Peaches all that time. But I'm sorry. I stand corrected. I apologize. I apologize. Okay, I apologize about that. All right. So in chapter one, it talks about what is soul and what is soul music. A person's soul is a person's essence, that part of our being which can soar to heaven. Gospel is the music of that essence, and the church is its home. That's the Museum of American Soul Music. The basic thing is soul feeling, the same in blues as in spirituals. And also with gospel music, it is soul music. Mahalia Jackson. This sound was just pulled from the gospel roots and the blues roots, and they tagged it soul music because people just stood and sang from their guts. You know, whatever they felt, they just let it come out. Carla Thomas. What is soul? What a question. Dick Headage, or was it Hibbage? If I'm saying it right, Dick Hibbage. All right, so defining soul music. All right, as you can see, it says the word soul found its way into the discourse of American popular culture, initially through music, spread out from there. African American essayist and playwright Amiri Baraka, who was born Leroy Jones, knows that in the 1950s, the word was used by jazz musicians and critics alike to characterize a movement within jazz to reclaim and revitalize a musical tradition that had been repeatedly co-opted by mainstream and corporated culture. Baraka uses soul to name an ingredient so exceptional to African American music that its absent would cause a knowledgeable listener to question the authenticity as African American music of what they were hearing. As Baraka used the term soul denotes in essence the necessary and sufficient condition of authentic blackness. In this application, the word establishes or honor a lineage linking African American secular musical innovation with the work of the African American church. According to Baraka's analysis, the musicians about whom the term was first used in the 1950s, Horace Silver, Art Blakey, Max Roach, Clifford Brown, and John Coltrane, were drawing upon the distinctive call and response cadence of preacher and congregation and the freezing of spirit possession characteristic of many African American church services, and they did so in conscious reaction and resistance to what they understood as the racist and therefore culturally and politically repressive conditions in the 1950s America. Specifically, they were aiming to restore vitality and authenticity to a music they felt had been tamed or domesticated and finally stolen for profitable mass distribution and consumption by a fundamentally racist culture industry, the music industry, serving a fundamentally racist society. All right. So then going to the second paragraph. Over the next decade, the term became a potent signifier of solidarity within African American community in the struggle for Black power. And as such, it was applied to all manner of cultural production and expression from cuisine, soul food, to hairstyle, soul patch, and special recognition handshakes, soul brother. At the same time, the term was also being taken up within the music industry, where it shifted from jazz to function first as a label for a distinctive style of pop music and later as a demographic and racially specific marketing category label, replacing the term rhythm and blues, which itself had replaced race. It is ironic, though predictable, that the prevailing conventional usage of soul in the discourse of American popular culture, including the scholarly literature, reflects music industry practice over time, and thus has by and large lost touch with the jazz references. According what people generally understand when they see references to soul music is a style or category of pop music dating from the 1950s. And again, it's come from the book called Soul Music: Tracking the Spiritual Roots of Pop from Plato to Motown, Joe Ridano. All right. So that's all the sources I have available. Okay. Once again, I want to make my apology to Pure Black. I didn't mean to call you a female. I thought you were saying that you was a female, but I didn't know you was reading the lyrics of Nina Simone or typing it up. So again, my apologies. I didn't mean to misidentify you. All right. But we could see how the Black music genre have been under the control of the mainstream, which is predominantly European people, right? And Jewish people alike. They have controlled the sound, the narratives, etc., to the way that it was profitable to them. So they saw that, oh, this is profitable. This is an opportunity to make more money. But they don't care too much for the music. Just the same way with rap music. When rap music first got into the industry on the mainstream level in the 80s, they saw it as profitable. So white people that controlled the record label and Jewish people, they was like, well, shoot, we can make money off of this. We see that it's selling. So we're going to go ahead and get the profits. So they were pimping us or pimping our people through the music. And they selected which Black artists would be a better representation for the Black culture or the Black community. I'm going to say that again. They selected which artists would be the best representation for the Black culture and the Black community. So a lot of the artists that you see today, not all of them, but most of them, they are pushed in by the industry, not by the people choice, but by the music industry. The music industry made them marketable to us. And say, hey, this is who can represent Black sound, Black culture, Black music, etc., the Black community. And for those of us, we may not agree with it because we may not like how the person sounds. We may not think that the person has that quality or the ability to be able to relate to us. You can see this going on. I think about a month ago, they had the Billboard Awards, right? And Grammy was doing the same thing. So the categories for R&B singers, right? What they did was they got mostly artists who was biracial and put them into the categories. Now, nothing against our biracial brothers and sisters, you know what I'm saying? Because they are also of African descent, but they happen to be mixed with other racial nationality as well. But they use them as the marketing tool as to say, this is representation of Black music. So a good example, Doja Cat. Doja Cat got characterized as an R&B singer. I said, well, when did she ever make R&B music? I never heard an R&B song by Doja Cat. Because most of the music that I heard from her was basically rap music or some pop music, like, but mostly rap music because she's a rapper. I never heard this woman making R&B music. They categorize her. They put her in there against Summer Walker, ZZA, and Ari Lennox. Yeah, Ari Lennox, Summer Walker, ZZA, and yeah, and that's it. Yeah, they put her on the category, and she won. Now she herself was surprised, like, "Whoa, there's plenty of great artists out there, and Summer Walker happened to be one of them." She didn't expect to get no award from Billboards for being an R&B artist. She don't see herself as an R&B artist. She see herself as a pop artist or a rap artist. She didn't expect to get an award for that. But see, this is what they do. See, this is how Billboard do it. So they gave Summer Walker credit, gave her an award for being an influential women of R&B or whatever. She got an award for that. But when they put her in the category of R&B, she didn't win. It went to Doja Cat. So it's like, well, what's the purpose of putting her into that category? Am I related to Megan Thee Stallion? Put your relative on blast. No, I'm not related to Megan Thee Stallion. Not at all. I mean, at least that I know of. I don't know. I have to check her DNA. But anyways, continue. Yeah, they put her into this category, right? She didn't expect to receive an award. She didn't expect to go against Summer Walker and SZA and Ari Lennox. She didn't expect to have no Billboard award for being an R&B singer. But this is Billboard doing. That was not Doja Cat doing. This is their politics. And if people don't see the politics of the fact that they making her the face of R&B music, make her the face, make her the face of R&B music, make her the face of black people. Same way with Cardi B. And yes, I'm gonna talk about Cardi B because I don't, for one, I don't care too much for Cardi B. But I'm gonna say this. And this is amazing. This is what amazed me about this individual. So at one point in time, before she got into the mainstream, she was a very proud Latino woman, right? She was a proud Latino woman. This is what she was saying. But now all of a sudden that she becomes very popular, famous, and receive a numerous amount of accolades and money, she's a proud black woman. And they try to make her the face of black women. How? How do you do that? How can't you make her the face of black women? Because she says she black and she proud. And I'm not taking away the fact that she don't have any African descent in her. She probably do. More than likely she does. But how did she end up becoming the face for black women? This is what you guys see, the trickery behind it. But then you don't see people like Cash Doll, a very talented female rapper. Now, one time she ever been nominated. Now, one time she ever received an award. But this girl is very talented. A very talented female rapper. But you will see Sweetie and Mulatto being nominated. And again, I don't have nothing against those young ladies. They talented in their own right. But not one time you will see Dej Loaf, Dreezy, and Cash Doll being nominated. Do you know why that is? Do you know why they never receive a lot of mainstream recognition? Do you know why? Because of colorism. Because the fact that they are dark-skinned women, they will not be marketable. Ari Lennox is lucky that she is marketable in the industry. And the reason why she's marketable because of a distinctive sound that she has. But normally they won't market dark skinned women or dark skinned, in this case, dark skinned women in the industry, any type of genre, whether it be R&B, whether it be rap, jazz, or whatever. They don't get that type of marketing. They don't get that type of commercial success. So for those who think that racism don't happen or it don't exist, just take a look at the music industry. Take a look at how the music industry operates. Black women accepted that when they voted for Joe Biden. Not all black women voted for Joe Biden, though. Not all black women did. Some of them did, but not every black woman voted for Joe Biden. And Joe Biden don't represent black people anyhow, so he ain't no different than Trump. The only difference between him and Trump is he happened to be a Democrat and Trump happened to be a Republican. That's the only difference. Neither one of them is a representation for black people. Not even Kamala Harris, who's supposed to be biracial. She's not a representation for black people. However, I'm going to stop this video, and I thank you guys for watching the channel. For those of you that were tuning in, please like, subscribe, and share the channel. And until next time, be safe. Peace, power, elevation be to all of you. This your girl Tiffany, and I'm logging off. Oh, Lion, I got a question before I log off of here. What's your name, Lion? Like, what is do you have a Facebook name or do you have a Twitter name, whatever? What is your name? So I can know who it is. Because I know. Yeah, I need to know. Okay, yeah, hit me up on Instagram. Yeah, hit me up on Instagram. It said he told me I wasn't black if I didn't vote for him, so I felt pressure to vote for Joe too. Oh boy. All right, so y'all have a good one, and again, peace and power, elevation be to all of you, and I will link up with y'all later. All right, deuces.